The moment between songs. The soft hum of laughter and clinking glasses filled the air as Emma stepped into the warm glow of La Belle Nuit, a small restaurant dressed in golden lights and the scent of roses. It was her best friend's birthday, and though she had promised herself she'd relax and have fun tonight, a quiet ache lingered in her chest, the kind that comes from weeks of pretending everything is fine. Her last relationship had ended months ago, but the emptiness still shadowed her smile. Tonight, she wanted to feel something again. Anything. She adjusted the strap of her lilac dress, scanning the crowded room for familiar faces. That's when she saw him. He was sitting alone at the bar, a man with dark hair that curled slightly at the ends, dressed in a crisp white shirt with the sleeves carelessly rolled up. Liam. She didn't know his name yet, but there was something about the way he looked at the glass in his hand, lost in thought, that caught her completely off guard. Their eyes met for a fleeting second, that electric kind of second that stretches into forever. He smiled, a small, genuine curve of his lips, and Emma felt her pulse quicken. She looked away, pretending to be interested in the menu, but her heart had already decided otherwise. Later, as the evening unfolded in bursts of music and candlelight, Emma found herself standing near the bar, waiting for her drink. Gin and tonic? His voice was calm, low, the kind of voice that made you want to listen. She turned, startled, and saw him smiling again. "How did you guess?" "You have that look," he said with a teasing glint in his eyes. "Someone who likes simple things that still feel a little dangerous." Emma laughed, the sound softer than she expected. "And you? What's your story, mysterious bar philosopher?" Liam shrugged, taking a sip of his drink. "Just someone who came to forget a few things." There was a pause, not awkward, but heavy with something unspoken. They both knew what it felt like to be broken, to try and start again. As the night deepened, they talked about music, travel, little moments that changed their lives. It felt easy, natural, as if they had known each other long before tonight. Then, a slow song began to play, the kind that makes the whole world slow down. Liam hesitated, then held out his hand. "Dance with me?" Emma's heart raced. For a moment, she wanted to say no. She wasn't ready to feel this. But something inside whispered, maybe this is what healing looks like. She placed her hand in his. The music wrapped around them, soft and aching. They moved gently, their breaths sinking, their eyes meeting in the dim light. The world faded, the noise, the laughter, everything but him. When the song ended, neither of them moved away. Liam's thumb brushed against her cheek, almost uncertain. "I don't know why," he said quietly, "but it feels like I've been waiting to meet you." Emma smiled, her voice barely a whisper. "Maybe you were." Outside, rain began to fall, a soft, cinematic rain that made the city shimmer. And as they stood there, surrounded by music and warmth, Emma felt something stir inside her again, not just hope, but the beginning of something real. Where the sky touches the sea. The sun was melting into the horizon when Emily Carter stepped off the small ferry onto the island of Santorini. The air was warm, smelling of salt and jasmine, and for the first time in months, she felt free. Free from the gray walls of her London office, free from expectations, free to just breathe. She had promised herself that this journey around the world would be more than just escape. It would be rebirth. Yet loneliness had a way of following her, even across oceans. That changed the night she met Liam Hayes. He was sitting at a small seaside cafe, sketching the sunset in a worn leather notebook. His hair caught the last light of day, and when he looked up, his eyes met hers, blue, clear, and full of quiet curiosity. "Traveling alone?" he asked, his voice carrying that effortless charm that made Emily forget how to answer. "For now," she smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You?" He nodded, also for now. They spent the evening talking about places they'd seen, dreams they were still chasing, and the strange beauty of being lost in the world. There was something about Liam, not just the way he looked at her, but the way he listened. It felt as if he heard the parts of her she usually hid. Days turned into weeks. Together, they explored narrow cobblestone streets, watched stars spill across the Aegean sky, and shared stories over bottles of wine. Emily began to feel something she hadn't felt in years, the thrill of being seen, truly seen. But as the end of summer approached, the reality neither of them wanted to face began to loom. Liam had his own path, a photography project that would take him to South America. Emily's next stop was Tokyo. Their last night together was quiet. They stood on the cliffs, watching the sea shimmer under the moonlight. Maybe, she whispered, some people are meant to meet only for a moment. Or, he said softly, taking her hand, some moments last forever. He kissed her then, a slow, aching kiss that tasted like salt and goodbyes. The next morning, he was gone. On the table in her small hotel room, Emily found his sketchbook. On the last page, he had drawn her, standing at the edge of the sea, hair tangled in the wind, eyes full of wonder. Below, he'd written, "Find me where the sky touches the sea." Months later, in a crowded Tokyo gallery, Emily stopped before a photograph. The same sunset they had watched together in Santorini. Beneath it, the artist's name, Liam Hayes. Her heart skipped a beat. For a moment, the world stood still. Maybe, just maybe, some love stories never truly end. Somewhere between stars and sea, the train hummed softly as it sped along the coastline of southern Italy, the sun melting into the horizon like gold poured into the sea. Amelia pressed her forehead to the window, watching the blur of orange and lavender light. She had been traveling for months, from Lisbon's narrow alleys to the snow-kissed rooftops of Prague, chasing something she couldn't quite name. Freedom, perhaps? Or maybe just herself. When the train stopped in a small coastal town called Atrani, she got off on a whim. Her suitcase wobbled over the cobblestones as she walked toward the sea, drawn by the sound of waves whispering secrets to the shore. That's when she met Ethan. He was sitting by the water, sketchbook on his knees, pencil moving with effortless grace. His hair was wind-tossed, his shirt rolled at the sleeves, and his eyes, ocean blue, lifted to meet hers with a quiet curiosity. "You look like you're running from something," he said softly, not unkindly. Amelia hesitated, then smiled. "Or toward something. I haven't decided yet." They talked for hours, about books, art, lost dreams, and the strange beauty of loneliness. As night fell, lanterns flickered above the sea, casting golden light across his face. She found herself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in months. The days that followed felt like a dream. They wandered through lemon groves, shared gelato on the steps of the old church, and swam under the stars. Every glance, every accidental touch felt charged with something unspoken, fragile, electric, inevitable. But reality, as always, arrived too soon. Ethan had a life rooted there, his art, his family, his promises. Amelia's ticket was already booked for another city, another border. On their last night, they sat by the water again, the air heavy with the kind of silence that means goodbye. He reached for her hand. "Maybe we're not meant to stay," he murmured, "but to meet, just long enough to remember what it feels like to be alive." Her eyes glistened, the reflection of starlight trembling in them. "Then I'll remember you," she whispered, "every time the sea looks like the sky." The next morning, she boarded her train. As it pulled away, she caught a glimpse of him standing on the platform, sketchbook in hand, watching her disappear. And somewhere, between stars and sea, Amelia realized, some people don't belong to a place or a moment. They belong to each other, even if only in memory.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.